Now the funny thing here is I'm actually protecting my pine that I got from the big box store with a piece of sapele. So what exactly is a holdfast? To be honest, it is an extremely old tool. There are actually pictures of these on the Roman walls of Pompeii, and they've been around for thousands of years, and they're extremely simple. I mean, it's just a piece of metal that's been bent into a specific shape that will allow you to hold material down so you can work on it. So I wanted to go into a little more depth about what is a holdfast and what can they do for you. So these holdfasts that I'm using are from Black Bear Forge. I'll leave a link to his information in the description below so you can check that out. They are hand forged, and you can see the hammer marks throughout the shaft, which is a great benefit. I'll get to that in a little while. But he does some really cool work, and they come in a couple different shapes and even some detail work on them. So what exactly is a holdfast? It's basically just a bent piece of metal that can go in through the dog hole in your bench and hold things down hard on the bench. I slide it into the hole, I position it on the piece that I want, give it a good whack, and now, I'm shaking the bench, and it's solid. Now if I wanted to, I could force it. Okay, there I can get a little bit twisting. It's pretty solid. It's just a bent piece of metal. So to release it, tap the back, pop it out, and voila. Really, really simple piece of material, but very, very useful, very, very fast, and great to have on your bench. So how exactly does it work? So basically, imagine for a moment that this is your bench top. And mine is made of Douglas fir. So you take the holdfast and you slide it down through the hole, and what happens is once it gets into the hole, when you hit the end, it actually kitty wonkers it in there. Kitty wonkers, I don't know if that's a particular term, but I'm going to use it. And it pinches it inside, and so basically it is trying to bend the steel straight again as you pound it down in. The steel then is held in tension and is sprung in place, but because it's twisted in this joint, the joint has so much friction on it, it's not going to let it pull up. So this head is still holding down on the bench top very, very well. Simple, straightforward idea, but very, very powerful. So let's look at how we can use it. The most straightforward method is if you're working on the surface of something. So if you're carving or doing any detail work on it, or doing any joinery, it's very nice to be able to just... And this piece is now part of the bench. It is locked in there and won't move. And so when I'm working with a mallet and chisel, this is a very solid surface that is extremely useful. And I can work again. Another place you might commonly use it is when working on tenons. So I can set this in here, put the piece up, and now I can work with my chisel and so even, mortise and tenon chopping works fairly straightforward. And I can work on the end of the piece just by standing it upright. One thing that people often say is if you're working on something like pine, it might ding it up, and so you can just put another piece on here and put that down. Another place that a holdfast can really be of a benefit is if you don't have an end vise. And normally you would have a stop that you would put on your board, and you would have an end vise that would hold this in place so that you can then plane with the wood. And so if you don't have that, you can kind of plane against a stop. But the problem is if it starts going off kilter at all, then your board goes way over here and goes crazy. So what you can do if you don't have an end vise is you get a board, you put this little bird's mouth in it with just a 90-degree cut, set it on here at a slight angle, put your holdfast in, kind of hold it all down in place. And so not only that, you can easily and quickly pull the board in and out. I can now cut with the plane, with the grain, and not have any fear about it, but I can also then go across the grain, which I never could have done without having an end vise. And so this can be, in many instances, can completely replace the end vise with just a simple piece of bent metal. Basically, anytime I'm thinking about doing some work with a chisel on a piece of wood in a detailed manner, I can use a hold vise to hold it on the bench. In any particular method I want, in any particular setup I want, in any particular orientation I want. And it's just that quick, no matter what you're doing, with a simple holdfast. Now, there are a few things you should know about when looking to buy a holdfast. Not all holdfasts are created the same. Not all holdfasts are that gorgeous either. So the first holdfast that I ever got, I purchased off of Amazon. It was about 20 bucks. And it looked great. It worked well for the first time I used it. And the second time I used it, the neck snapped. And a holdfast that's in two pieces doesn't work very well. And that is because that particular holdfast was actually cast. So they cast the steel, and that is a fairly brittle surface. And when you're trying to put the steel in tension and trying to bend it back into place, it's going to snap. They're going to fail on you. There's just no reason to buy a cast holdfast. Now, the next ones I bought, and the ones I used for a long time, were from another company, and they weren't forged. They were just heat-bent pieces of metal, and they worked fairly well. But they had a couple problems with it. Number one, because they were just a bent piece of metal, the shaft was smooth like you would expect a steel rod, and that would slide inside of the hole, and eventually they would kind of wiggle themselves out of the hole. They were a bit finicky to use, and I didn't much care for that. Some of the other companies have these knobs that you can turn down, but then those kind of like rub out the ends of your hands. And I've seen a few that have like ring shanking on the surface, which sounds great other than the fact that you are basically sanding the inside of your dog hole every time you move it in and out. And eventually your dog hole is going to be too large that it won't work anymore. What I generally suggest is that you get a hand-forged holdfast. And this is many different things that it does very well over others. Number one is going to have the flexibility and strength that it needs to last. This neck is not going to break. There isn't enough force that I can put on it to break this. It is going to last me the rest of my life and longer. If taken care of, this will last for my great-great-great-grandkids. The other thing with hand forged is that the surface is somewhat pitted and pounded as it has actually been forged into shape. And that gives it a texture. That texture will hold in the hole and it won't want to wiggle back out. The other great thing about that is because it is a soft texture, it's not going to rip apart your hole. So you can slide this in and out of your hole as much as you want, and it's not going to make the hole any bigger. It will work great for you. These particular holdfasts I got are from Black Bear Forge. And if you want to see how he makes this duck-billed holdfast, I have a video link right over here. He does an amazing job, and I love his work. Not only does he make this traditional square-cornered with a duck bill, but he also makes these with the leaf design, and I absolutely love his work. So yeah, I cannot say enough about Black Bear Forge, and great prices on it. Some of the other things that he has are phenomenal as well, so go check that out. So that is a quick look at holdfasts. If I wanted to, I could go into a lot more detail on these. They are a fantastic, simple tool, but I don't think anyone wants to sit through a 3-hour-long video on a hunk of metal. But that being said, once you integrate one of these into your workflow, it can change everything. They do some amazing work, and they are so fast and so simple. I love holdfasts. I love them. So I hope you liked this video. It was a fun one for me. If you want to see how John makes holdfasts, you can click on the link over here and go take a look at his video. He does some amazing work, not only holdfasts, but hatchets and hardware and hinges, screws, Mox and Vise cranks. Fantastic work. Go take a look at what he does. It is phenomenal, and man, your work is sexy. So thanks for sending these over. If you did like this video, please hit like and think about subscribing. I do want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are phenomenal and have been an amazing encouragement to me. So thank you for that. If you want to find out more about that, you can click over here. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Look, I'm King Tut.